Welcome to Maths Chat. Today I'm going to be going over for you how to solve for inequalities, as well as write inequalities on a number line. So there's a couple of key skills that you'll need for this video. One of them is you'll need to know how to solve for x. So think back to one of my previous videos where we rearranged the right and left hand side to solve for x. We're going to be doing a very similar thing today. We're not going to be working with an equal sign. Instead, we're going to be working with what we call an inequality symbol. An inequality is when we've got something that might look like an equation, however, instead of an equal sign, it has one of our inequality symbols. Now, the way we read inequality symbols, if I have a look at this one, that's saying greater than. So 3x plus 4 is greater than 13. This one I read as 4 minus x over 3 is less than or equal to 6. Now the reason this one is or equal to is because it's got that extra line there. So that means that it's including whatever value I'm talking about on the other side. The other reason that it's less than is because it actually looks like an L. So that's a really good way to remember whether a symbol is saying less than or greater than. Because this one is not looking like an L, I would say that that is greater than. So because, again, this one does not look like an L, it's greater than. So that will come into play a little bit later. First of all, I'm going to show you how to rearrange these and solve for these inequalities. The word solve would normally mean that we're trying to solve for x. It's a very similar situation where we are trying to get x on a side by itself and all of our values on the other side of the inequality symbol. So over here, for the first one, I need to subtract 4. Now the way I like to remember it is that it's the furthest thing away from my x term. So the 4 is just on its own, and because plus 4 minus 4 is 0, that helps me eliminate it from the left hand side. And I deposit it on the right hand side. Now when I make that change, I'm still leaving the sign as is. So 3x is greater than 13 minus 4, which is 9. The final step for this is to divide by 3, because I want, like I said before, x to be all on its own. And that leaves me with x is greater than 3. Now I've completely solved my inequality. What I need to do now is finish off the question. It's saying that I need to graph the solutions on the number line. So if x is greater than 3, I go to where 3 is. This axis represents my x values, and I'm drawing a dot above whatever value is specified here. Now I'm going to leave that as an open circle. The reason is because, as I mentioned before, this is not including. That means I'm not going to fill it in. If x is greater than 3, x is from here, not including 3, but then everything after that. So I draw it like this, represented by that line and the arrow. Let's try the second one. Again, I want to make sure that I've got nothing but x on my left hand side. So I'm going to subtract 4 first, exactly what we did up here, which will give me minus x over 3 is less than or equal to 2. Now at this point, I'm going to multiply by 3, multiply by 3, and I'm left with negative x is less than or equal to positive 6. Now, just like when we're solving for x, we want x to be on a side by itself with no negative attached. So the final step here is to divide by negative 1. Now, what happens at this, something kind of cool, when I multiply or divide a negative across my inequality symbol, I then flip it. So if this is less than, I'm going to now change it to greater than, because I've divided negative 1 across my sign. That becomes positive x, and now it's greater than or equal to negative 6, because I've applied the fact that I flipped this and the negative 1. Now I can't finish there, because at this point I need to put it on my number line. So I find where negative 6 is on the number line, and draw a dot. Now before, I didn't colour it in because it was not including. Here, because you'll see that this is including, as it's got the extra line underneath my symbol, I am going to colour this in. And because x is greater than -6, I'm drawing my line this direction and drawing my arrow like so. And that represents my x values for example 2. Now the final problem. The main difference here is that I have 2 terms that have x this time, whereas all the other examples I only had 1 term that had x. I'm going to solve just like I normally would. So I'll add 4 because I want to get this 4 away from that side, and I want all of my x's on the same side together. So this becomes 3x plus, and because I've applied that +4, becomes +6, and that's greater than 6x. Then, because I have 3x and 6x on different sides, I want to combine them. So I'm going to subtract 3x and subtract 3x. So I'll be left with 6 is greater than 3x. At this point, because I want x to be all by itself, I divide this side by 3 and divide this side by 3. 2 is greater than x, because those two have cancelled out. Now 2 is greater than x is the same as saying x is less than 2. And it's a little bit easier for us to read it as x is less than 2. So let's draw this out in our number line. If x is less than 2, and 2 is here, I'm going to draw a circle there. And I'm not going to fill this in because it said not including, because there is no line present underneath my symbol. Then, because it is less than 2, I draw my line going to the left, as shown here. And those are my 3 number lines. So that was how to solve for inequalities. Make sure that if you've got any questions or comments, please write them in the comment section below. Also hit like on this video and subscribe to the channel so that you can stay tuned with what's happening on Maths Chat. And I'll see you next time. Bye!